Welcome to the All Language Resources channel, where we review different resources to help you learn a new language. Would you like the chance to try premium resources in exchange for sharing your honest feedback? You can apply to be a tester from the link in the description box. This review will look at Pimsleur as a whole and will share our reasons for giving it an overall score of 4 out of 5 stars. Pimsleur is one of the most popular and longest standing resources out there for learning a foreign language. The name comes from linguist Paul Pimsleur, author of many books on language acquisition and applied linguistics, and developer of what is now known as the Pimsleur method. Dr. Pimsleur wrote the first Pimsleur language program in 1963, and the courses were first available on cassette tapes and books before becoming available digitally. Today, its courses place a strong emphasis on oral and verbal communication skills, paying less attention to grammar explanations and reading or writing skills. There are over 50 language courses available with Pimsleur, and the bulk of the material is taught with audio lessons. Given that the lessons are largely audio-based, the Pimsleur courses are often advertised as a convenient way to study a language while completing chores, cooking, driving, or doing anything that doesn't require all of your attention. The courses consist of core 30-minute audio lessons as well as some extra practice activities that touch on a variety of skills, but there's a heavy emphasis on speaking and listening skills. Let's start the review with a rundown of the Pimsleur method. There are 4 main pillars in the Pimsleur method. The first, graduated interval recall, works just like a type of spaced repetition system. It's an effective method for committing new terms to long-term memory in an efficient manner. Where it differs from other spaced repetition system platforms like Anki or Memrise is that the intervals in which you review words are time-based rather than performance-based. The method seems to work well in conjunction with the active role listeners take in the audio courses. The second is what they call the principle of anticipation, which means that there are frequent pauses in the audio lessons that allow you to work through scenarios on your own before hearing the correct response. This makes active participation an integral part of the Pimsleur method. The final 2 mainstays of the method are core vocabulary and organic learning. These concepts essentially mean that learners are only exposed to the most necessary vocabulary words, and that learning happens in the context of relatable, usable conversations. Let's now talk about the platform. It's hard to deny the slick, premium feel that permeates the Pimsleur platform. The design quality inspires confidence in the efficacy of the resource, and that it made us excited to use it. The audio quality is also immediately recognizable as excellent. It would have been nice if there was a transcript to follow along with, as one can space out when there's only audio to focus on. Moving on to the core audio lessons. These 30-minute lessons are where most of the learning happens in a Pimsleur course, and we think they're done really well. This is what you'll spend most of your time doing with Pimsleur, listening to audio lessons. The Pimsleur method strongly suggests doing 1 per day, and this method works nicely if it fits into your schedule. Anyone with a commute that's longer than 30 minutes, for example, could find that these lessons are easy to add to the routine. Note though that these lessons can require quite a bit of concentration. Passive, distracted listening isn't going to work very well. The audio lessons are very interactive, meaning you'll get to participate in the conversation. The narrator offers some explanations and guides the lesson, and you'll get plenty of opportunities to practice your pronunciation with male and female native speakers.
This is Unit 1 of Pimsleur's German 1. Listen to this German conversation.
Entschuldigen Sie, verstehen Sie Englisch?
Nein, ich verstehe kein Englisch.
The lessons also build on each other exceptionally well, especially at the beginner level. Each lesson provides sufficient review for the previous lesson, and you're constantly building upon what you've already learned.
Ein bisschen.
Sind Sie Amerikaner?
Ja. Verstehen Sie Englisch?
Nein, ich verstehe kein Englisch.
The location of explanations within lessons feels very intuitive. You aren't kept in the dark for very long at any point. An explanation seems to appear just as you start wishing for one.
Est-ce que? Est-ce que?
Any statement can be made into a question just by putting this in front of it. Once again, say, "You understand."
It could be nice if there was something more in the way of grammar explanations. This isn't to suggest lengthy explanations or taking away from the practical focus of the lessons. Just a little bit of grammar support for those who prefer to think things through would be helpful. Let's now take a look at the practice activities. These activities certainly aren't the main show in a Pimsleur course. They're simple, quick, and not required. You may enjoy the opportunity to actually see the language you are learning and find that, though basic, the exercises are engaging enough to keep you interested. You may also appreciate the fact that you can get some comprehensive review this way. You can select from as many of your completed lessons as you like when choosing what material to practice. It's nice to be able to review material that you might not have seen for a while instead of only one lesson at a time. It might be nice if the platform kept track of which words you repeatedly had trouble with, but the interval recall works well at providing timely review in the audio lessons. But if you're someone who prefers audio lessons, you may find yourself wanting to skip these altogether. Maybe it's good that activities using the written form are available for people who prefer visual material, but these won't really get in the way of a learner who's happy sticking to the audio. Flashcards are the first practice activity you'll likely engage with, and it's also the most basic. Practice is really simple with these flashcards. You can choose whether you'd like to translate from your target or source language, and then you'll be shown the audio and written form of some material from the current lesson. Don't expect any extra information like noun gender, verb tense, or word type. After viewing and listening to the word or phrase and then clicking to reveal the translation, you'll either select skip or got it. Selecting skip, presumably because you weren't able to come up with the correct translation, means you'll see the flashcard repeated at the end of the set.
De nada.
Quick match, despite what the name and description seem to insinuate, there isn't a timed element to this activity. Instead, it's pretty much a straightforward multiple choice quiz. Choose the correct translation from a list of 4.
¿Escribirlo? ¿Cómo está? ¿Es usted norteamericano? No sé por qué.
The Speak Easy activity is actually the closest thing to a transcript of the audio lesson. You'll get to listen to and see the phrases in a conversation, listening and repeating as you wish. You can listen to each phrase individually or let the entire conversation play through.
我会说一点儿普通话。
你是美国人吗？
是，我是美国人。
Speed Round, unlike Quick Match, is aptly named. Words and phrases make their way down the screen in Space Invaders fashion, and you're tasked with selecting the correct translation before they reach the bottom. There are some satisfying sounds that accompany correct answers, and you can watch the points bar fill up to try and set a new record, but it's not exceptionally fun. Let's now proceed to reading lessons. The reading lessons in Pimsleur seem to mostly be focused on teaching learners how to pronounce written words rather than read for understanding. There are no reading comprehension exercises, for example. This is the first reading lesson in the Spanish Level 1 course. Your job is to read the word aloud and then listen to a native speaker to check your pronunciation.
Listen to the speaker pronounce it.
Poco.
Now repeat it aloud after him. Always repeat aloud after the speaker.
Poco.
As you progress, the utterances become longer and more complex. You can view translations at any time by selecting the icon in the upper right corner. This system works fine for Latin alphabets, but it requires some tweaking for Asian languages like Japanese. For non-Latin alphabets, you'll have to spend more time learning the individual characters that make up the writing system. In the Japanese course, you'll cover hiragana in level 1, katakana in level 2, and begin with kanji in level 3. It would have been nice to see some spaced repetition system style practice for learning Japanese kana, though it's easy enough to get this kind of practice for free with user-created materials on either Anki or Memrise. It would probably be best to incorporate some kind of complementary study resource if you want to learn to read Japanese relatively quickly. You will allegedly be able to read at the same level you can speak after 30 lessons, but the oral and reading lessons are delivered at different speeds. There is value in teaching pronunciation separately from reading, especially for languages without highly phonetic writing systems. However, you might prefer a more traditional method that presents words and their written form in tandem as you are exposed to them. The big takeaway here is that Pimsleur courses, historically audio exclusive, still aren't designed to provide comprehensive reading and writing practice. It's nice that they provide some practice and exposure that's certainly helpful in some way, but Pimsleur is best at teaching listening and speaking skills. And now, let's discuss pricing. Pimsleur pricing is complicated. Your location and the language you're studying will both influence how much it will cost. Historically, Pimsleur sold as a one-time payment, but in recent years, they've also added a subscription option. It isn't clear which countries have access to the subscription option, but if you live outside of the US, Canada, Australia, or the UK, you'll have to access it through the Pimsleur app. Subscriptions of either $14.95 a month or $19.95 a month are available for courses with at least 60 lessons. The recurring price depends on how much content is available. Subscriptions also come with a 7-day free trial. The one-time purchase options range from around $20 for 5 lesson bundles to over $500 for all of the lessons of a popular language. In addition to the above variations, the pricing changes slightly depending on where you are located. For some alternatives, Pimsleur is one of the bigger players when it comes to language learning resources, but it's certainly not your only option. The Coffee Break Academy is a quality podcast with a similar price to Pimsleur, but there's no subscription option. One of the major perks of the Coffee Break series is the amount of free content available for each language, though there are far fewer languages offered here than with Pimsleur. Paid access to the Coffee Break course grants access to useful videos that accompany each audio lesson, something you may find particularly helpful. If your primary concern with Pimsleur is that there's very little visual content, consider Coffee Break. Babbel is similar to Pimsleur in that it's a major player in the language learning sphere in that it caters to learners looking for a comprehensive resource. It differs by providing more of an early emphasis on learning the written language, which some learners may prefer. This makes it potentially more appealing to visual learners or those who are interested in developing their reading and writing skills in tandem with their verbal and oral skills. Babbel provides listening and speaking practice in conversation exercises that use speech recognition technology to give feedback on pronunciation. Language Transfer's audio lessons are completely free, but they're really only suitable as introductory courses. They take a unique approach in teaching learners how to think their way through learning a new language. Like with Pimsleur, you won't be instructed to take notes or do anything other than listen along and speak when prompted. The fact that language transfer material is completely free is noteworthy, as a lot of time has been clearly put into these courses. The trade-off is that there are much fewer languages available and that the courses cover much less material. Some final thoughts. Pimsleur has been around for decades, and that's no fluke. It's a quality resource and it teaches languages well. The fact that it all started with a renowned linguist and author on language acquisition is no side note either. Compliments aside, Pimsleur isn't the right choice for every learner. It might not even be the right choice for most learners. The platform seems best suited for beginner to intermediate learners who want to focus on improving their speaking and listening skills rather than grammar, reading, or writing. In any case, Pimsleur is worth your consideration. Fortunately, the 7-day free trial makes it easy to try and find out for yourself. Our overall rating for Pimsleur is 4 out of 5 stars. The breakdown is as follows. For quality, it earns 4.5 out of 5 stars. The platform is extremely well designed and easy to use. The content seems to be of high quality at all levels. For thoroughness, it earns 4 out of 5 stars. Timely repetition and active practice work well, and lessons build on each other nicely. But the intermediate fluency in 30 days claim may be a stretch. For value, it earns 3.5 out of 5 stars. The subscription option provides good value for some, but there may be more efficient ways to learn some languages. If you enjoyed this review, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And if you're looking for more information on any particular resource, be sure to check out our website, alllanguageresources.com, where we've tested out and written about hundreds of language learning resources.